Chu Feng, who was betrayed by his fiancée Ae, unexpectedly awakened his powers, and the rebirth of his younger sister brought news of the impending end of the world, preparing materials, building homes, exploring the apocalypse, and developing abilities. In order to protect their families, Chu Feng and Chu Tianjiao constantly improve themselves, develop their power, hunt mutated beasts, collect resources, and establish a huge underground force. Every time Chu Feng strives, he constantly develops his abilities and eventually gathers into a super logistic support base that integrates farming, breeding, production, and punishment. At the same time, he strengthens his physical fitness and soul, keeping himself at the top of the army of evolutionists. With the completion of Earth's evolution, the struggle between humans, mutated beasts, aliens, and extraterrestrial beings over resources and land came to an end. Eventually, it was discovered that this was just a selection of the Sulu Empire in the universe. Earth would be used as a war weapon for the Empire and thrown into the barren battlefield, competing for resources to advance from a 3-star civilization to a 4-star civilization. In the world of supernatural powers, Chu Feng cultivates stronger war weapons and fights against the swords of various races and civilizations in a desolate battlefield. Through exploration and plunder, conspiracy and forbearance, fanaticism and discovery, he reserves the energy to survive. After the battlefield ends, he sets off an astonishing feat in the brilliant civilization of the universe. Chapter 1. Dog Men and Women and the End of the World. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The messy living room, scattered clothes, and the air filled with strange smells. The pair of men's shoes on the ground that didn't belong to him, as well as waves of high and low moans, constantly stimulated Chu Feng, who had just rushed home. Before the business trip ended, Chu Feng received a call from his younger sister and hurriedly rushed home, feeling confused. With a touch of European-style living room, this is the house that Chu Feng's parents fully paid for after the two registered for marriage. As a harbor for the young couple to fight in Haicheng, there are also wedding photos of Chu Feng and Sun Yuelin hanging on the wall. In the wedding photo, the two of them were dressed up in full attire. Chu Feng held Sun Yuelin's face in both hands, with a smile on her face as if she had tasted the sweetness of love. Sun Yuelin's smile was like a flower, but now it seems that she is stiff and polite. Chu Feng walked to the bedroom door in a daze, looking at the blurry image inside the door that had not yet been closed. It was indeed the voice of his fiancée Ae Sun Yuelin, which shattered Chu Feng's last bit of fantasy. Chu Feng, still dressed in formal attire and working hard on business trips for a better future, was feeling unprecedentedly tired as he struggled to secure his first $1 million purchase order. His body was hunched and he couldn't stand up straight. Chu Feng felt like his brain was blank at this moment, unable to think and at a loss. The past vows and sweet laughter could not be connected to the current situation. As the collision inside the house approached its end, everything inside gradually stabilized. The 200-square-meter house fell into silence at this moment, with only the gasps of the two echoing. Chu Feng seemed to be able to hear the hollow echoes from his originally fulfilling heart. Suddenly, a man's voice came out. "Lin Lin, are you sure that silly dog won't come back?" Silly dog. Chu Feng silently recited these two words. Next, a sweet and soft voice spoke weakly, "No, that silly dog Chu Feng won't be able to come back from that business trip for 3 or 4 days. I heard he said it was still a huge order this time, and he won't be able to come back. Oh, by the way, Lin Lin, hasn't your name written on this house yet? You need to hurry up, you won't really marry him, will you?" How could that be? I wouldn't marry an uninteresting person. To marry, I also want to marry a strong man like Zhiga. Hee, little cutie, then you need to control the temperature and have him quickly write your name on the property book and bring over the property certificate. Don't worry, Zhiga. When he comes back from this business trip, I will ask him to write my name on the house. He won't refuse me. By the way, Zhiga, you also need to strive for him to write this business as yours, the commission is quite a bit. Don't worry, Chu Feng, this unjust leader. I'll just fabricate a lie and ask him for a drink. He'll just obediently offer me his knee. That's right, my Jiga is the most amazing. Huh, how powerful I am. Oh, how powerful it must be, hee hee. Then I'll let you taste something even more powerful. Then, another sound rang from inside the room. Chu Feng couldn't believe that Lin Lin, who had once sworn in love and tenderness with her, was only greedy for her own house. Isn't she not as valuable as a house? And his good brother, Sun Ji, brought him out of his hometown without education or skills, introduced him to work, helped him rent a house, and even gave him many orders, just to let him live better in Haicheng and return home in glory in the future. But he only regarded himself as a scapegoat, living in the house he rented for him, doing the job he introduced, earning the performance commission he gave him, and now, sleeping with his fiancée A.E. Are you just a big hater? Graduated from a prestigious university, but unable to pursue a career in the field they love, can only work in the toughest and most challenging sales field. I work diligently and have outstanding business skills, but I am always suppressed. No matter how strong my abilities and achievements are, they cannot match the fate of others. My fiancée A.E., who vowed to grow old together with me, actually hooked up with my best brother and gave me a green hat. Chu Feng knelt down on the ground, vigorously rubbing his painful brain and pounding his heart that he didn't want to beat. Emotions of frustration, discomfort, pain, anger, and so on constantly pounded Chu Feng's nerves, as if an extreme darkness was about to engulf him. Suddenly, all the emotions and pain seemed to have reached a certain threshold, rushing into the unknown part of Chu Feng's body and opening a door to the dark world. Chu Feng felt a magical energy permeating his whole body, standing straight and his strength rapidly increasing, unprecedented clarity in thinking, rapid improvement in vision, hearing, and smell. A sense of control fills the whole body, feeling that the world has become different. An invisible force breaks through the constraints of the brain and permeates around the body, allowing one to control objects without the need for manual intervention. The transformation came quickly, and at this moment Chu Feng felt completely different, except for his bloodshot eyes and angry emotions. Chu Feng walked up to the bedroom door, and with a surge of his thoughts, he knocked the door against the wall, causing it to shatter with immense force. Entering the bedroom and looking at the two sitting still, Chu Feng appeared calm on the surface, but his heart was filled with angry roars. Tear them apart, tear apart these two shameless people, extract their souls, and throw them into the dark purgatory. Husband, how did you come back? Sun Yuelin, who had regained her senses, quickly lifted the blanket and blocked herself, taking a deep breath to calm her panicked mind. Wei Chu Baba said, why don't you tell me when you come back? I'll go pick you up. My husband is working hard on a business trip. You go take a shower first, and I will come out immediately to explain to you. I can explain. Sun Ji also reacted and hurriedly grabbed his clothes, saying to Chu Feng, yes, we can explain. I'm here to rest the light bulb. Lin Lin said the light bulb was broken and I accidentally fell onto the bed. Don't think too much about it, you. Hee, Chu Feng doesn't know what his expression looks like now, he only knows how ridiculous and sad his past was. Tired, annoyed, meaningless, let's all die and everything be destroyed. Chu Feng remained silent, slowly lifting his right hand with an invisible surge of mental energy. He rolled up the two people on the bed and, with the swing of Chu Feng's right hand, quickly hit the wall, bed, ceiling, table, cabinet, crystal balls and plush toys bought by the two people, wedding photos on the table, film and television walls on the wall. All smashed. Until Chu Feng felt a headache, he stopped and bent over, gasping for breath. He glanced at the two people who looked like mud, and a sense of nausea surged. Chu Feng quickly rushed to the toilet and vomited. As Chu Feng's psychic power left the two of them, he drew out two blurry figures and flew back to Chu Feng's side. The feeling of wanting to vomit out quickly fades away, and human adaptability is far beyond our imagination. Sitting weakly beside the toilet, watching the two souls dragged out by Nianli, Chu Feng remembered the door to the dark world, as if it was inside his own head. Chu Feng tried to sense again, but suddenly, a transparent three-dimensional image appeared in front of him, seemingly a room. With a slight movement in his heart, his mind dragged the souls of the two into the room, and Chu Feng's consciousness followed suit. The cabin is not large, about 15 square meters, and there is a dim round ball hanging on the roof. There are some blurry lines on one side of the wider wall, making it difficult to distinguish whether it is a pattern or a scratch. On one of the narrow walls, there is a black door. Next to the narrow wall, opposite the scratched wall, is a wide white door. There seems to have been something hanging on the fourth wall, with hooks and scratches. On the ground, there is a cushion in the shape of a bun. After entering here, Chu Feng suddenly felt that there was more information in his mind about his abilities. My own cabin is called the meditation room, where my mind can gather and nourish by sitting on a cattail. Behind the black gate is a dark world that can absorb the soul bodies of living beings, punish them in various ways, until their consciousness is dispersed and they become pure spiritual bodies. One of their functions is to be absorbed by their own mental power, briefly enhancing their mental power. Behind the white door, there should be a space, and the size of the space depends on the size of the things you first received. As for the characteristics, you need to enter before you can feel them. The round ball hanging above the head seems to be something called a mechanical brain, and it is unclear how to activate it, so one needs to explore it themselves. The other parts are unknown, and Chu Feng feels that it is because his strength is not strong enough to meet the conditions for opening them. First, he threw the souls of the two into the black door, and then Chu Feng's consciousness and body power also walked in. The dimly lit space, the vast earth, the exact size unknown, two soul bodies thrown in by Chu Feng were dragged to the ground by invisible forces, bound to the pillars condensed by the earth. Black whips condensed from the sky, lashing down at their souls. This was the true pain that penetrated deep into their souls, and their soul bodies kept roaring and cursing. Chu Feng knew that when he was knocked unconscious, the two of them were truly dead, leaving behind pure spiritual bodies. Chu Feng stayed for a while, listening to the two of them cursing and begging for mercy. He didn't know what was on his mind, as if he hadn't let go or felt the pleasure of revenge. Returning to reality, walking out of the restroom and looking at the messy room and the bodies of the two, Chu Feng felt like everything was a dream, but it was very real, so real that he could enter the meditation room at any time now. The phone rang, and Chu Feng forced himself to calm down. He answered the phone and said, "Hello. Brother, are you okay?" A worried voice came over the phone. "This is Chu Feng's sister Chu Tianjiao. It's okay, don't worry, your brother is not that fragile." Chu Feng forced a smile and said. The person on the other end of the phone did not ask further, but continued to ask. "Do you believe me? Brother, I have been reborn, and the earth is about to undergo tremendous changes. The end of the world is coming." Chapter 2. My Sister Reborn. You are listening at novelfull.audio. "Brother, I'm reborn," Chu Tianjiao said to her phone. "Rebirth." Chu Feng felt incredulous, but today it was because of a phone call from his younger sister that he rushed back home. He saw the green hat and a unique ability he had mastered. If it weren't for rebirth, how would she know? Yes, I am reborn. In 7 days, extraterrestrial meteorites will hit Earth, and the end of the world is coming. Volcanoes erupt, dust fills the sky, and sunlight disappears. Chu Tianjiao continued. Chu Feng listened quietly. The impact of a meteorite on Earth triggers a volcanic eruption, and the Earth is enveloped in thick dust, completely blocking sunlight. At the beginning, the temperature dropped, reaching as low as -60 degrees Celsius, and the world entered a glacial period. The technology that humans rely on for survival will be unusable, returning to the most primitive state of survival. The Earth will expand, the surface area will increase, mountains and rivers will undergo changes, and animals and plants will mutate due to the influence of meteorite magnetic fields. Giant and intelligent mutated animal layers will emerge, and various extreme weather outbreaks will make the human living environment extremely difficult. If we want to survive, we must be prepared. and we must. Chu Tianjiao continued. Chu Tianjiao also said a lot, while Chu Feng pondered rationally whether the little girl was crazy. I still read too many novels, but on the other hand, I think of my abilities and constantly convince myself that this is true. In no time, Chu Feng felt his head expand in a circle. Finally, Chu Tianjiao stopped. For a moment, the phone fell into silence. Chu Feng was still rubbing his swollen head, while Chu Tianjiao was waiting for her brother's feedback. She also knew that he must have experienced too much in the whole day today. In the previous life, when I found out that my older brother was wearing a green hat, he had already been squeezed to death by them. Even if I avenged him, it would be of no use. In this life, Chu Tianjiao had already exposed the matter of that slut, allowing her elder brother to see her true face as soon as possible and increasing the credibility of her next words as much as possible, so that her elder brother could prepare supplies together with him. "Brother, did you hear what I said?" Chu Tianjiao's hesitant and anxious words spread out. Whether she can seize the opportunity next depends on her brother's trust in her. "I heard it." After thinking for a while, Chu Feng still believed it and told his sister about his situation, exchanging ideas and preventing him from doing useless work. "Now, there's a small room in front of me that can absorb souls, and I also have the ability to think, you know. It's like what's on TV, where you can grab things from afar, as if there's still some space, but it hasn't been developed yet. Look at what I'm collecting for the first time, do you understand?" Chu Feng felt that as a gold medal salesperson, he could no longer explain the changes in himself. He just hoped that the younger sister could understand. "Ah, brother, have you awakened your powers?" Sure enough, although Chu Feng didn't explain it very clearly, Chu Tianjiao had already heard it clearly. "Isn't this the biological variation brought about by the meteorite, and the ability obtained by some human evolution? I also awakened my abilities in my previous life, but the meteorite hasn't arrived yet. Brother, please tell me carefully how you mastered it. This is a good thing, don't worry, tell me. How to say it?" Chu Feng hesitated a bit. After all, it's a peaceful era now. He said on the phone that he killed someone. Will he be arrested? However, as a gold medal salesperson, his logical thinking and deceptive ability quickly made him think of how to describe it. "After you finished telling me, I came home and saw what you said. In anger, it seemed like I had broken some barrier. Like the black phoenix in a movie, it could destroy everything, but at the same time, like in a novel, there was a space that depended on the size of the object I first collected. Do you understand?" After a moment of silence, Chu Tianjiao roughly understood what Chu Feng meant and also understood the situation of destroying everything he talked about. Although it was still unbelievable, it could be the butterfly effect caused by her own rebirth, which was also a good thing. She could make good use of it. "Brother, you should believe what I said. Next, I will send you a plan, and you can make preparations according to this, and then go home as soon as possible. I will go back to my hometown to make preparations first, and see you in my hometown." Chu Tianjiao also thought of Chu Feng's concerns. It is still a peaceful era, and although the country advocates democracy and freedom, if there is too much talk on the phone, it will still be pulled away and sliced. To be cautious, Chu Tianjiao quickly edited a document and sent it to Chu Feng, which was relatively safer. Hanging up the phone and sitting on the sofa in the living room, Chu Feng forced himself to quickly calm down. He took out 2 bottles of water from the refrigerator, poured one bottle vigorously, and topped the other to finally calm down. Looking at the long list sent by the little girl on her phone, there were many, messy, and miscellaneous items, but it felt like they were all urgently needed in the post-apocalyptic world she described. Outdoor sportswear, goggles, gas masks, protective clothing, medication, large amounts of meat, dehydrated vegetables, rice and white noodles, convenient bread, high-calorie foods, dried fruits. As for quantity, the more, the better. Okay, after thinking about my savings, since I have chosen to trust my younger sister, let's proceed unconditionally. Let's first gather some wool from the capitalists. Chu Feng first took advantage of the fact that the real estate agent was not yet off work to find the salesperson who sold his house, Shi Hao, and contacted the seller. A large flat floor of over 200 square meters, originally bought by my parents for my wedding, now, sigh. As long as he can sell the house in full tomorrow, the price can be reduced by 10% and an additional 5% agency fee will be given. I came to find him because I bought it from him. He still has all the necessary information and doesn't need to come to inspect the house. After all, regardless of whether the end of the world comes or not, the two corpses in the bedroom are definitely not far from my end. Then, turn on the computer and start applying for various loans. The only requirement is to quickly disperse the funds. After tinkering all night, Chu Feng finally borrowed around 500,000 yuan. It's also possible for an ordinary social animal to get these loans. Unable to rest, Chu Feng called the logistics park and booked 2 warehouses. He then found various food suppliers he knew and purchased nearly 1.6 million yuan of supplies at a down payment of 30%, specifying the delivery to these 2 warehouses. After all, as the sales representative of the largest agricultural equipment company in Haicheng, Chu Feng still has some connections. At this moment, real estate agent Shi Hao called. "Brother, to be honest with you, I have discussed with my friends and we would like to buy your house. If possible, we will come over immediately to sign the contract and transfer the full payment to you." "Okay, no problem, I'll be right over. Anyway, it has already started, so there is no need to hesitate any further." After a simple tidying up, I put all my belongings in the small space, especially those 2 corpses. After all, there are still a few days left, so I cannot become a murderer first. Finally, I glanced at my engagement room and slammed the door shut heavily. Downstairs, seeing Sun Ji's domineering off-road vehicle, Chu Feng felt that he was really foolish in the past. Sun Ji said that his family urgently needed money, so Chu Feng gave him the contract he signed as an emergency. As a result, he turned around and picked up a new car, and the money kept dragging on. I don't even have a car in Haicheng. With a heart full of sorrow and anger, Chu Feng drove away the car. At the intermediary company, he casually said that he needed money urgently when he returned to his hometown. After signing the contract, 2 million yuan was paid. Chu Feng continued to contact several large warehouses to order materials. The busyness has come to an end, the money has been spent. This is really making money like soaring to the sky, spending money like flowing water. Flatten the backrest of the seat, take a deep breath, and suddenly feel a surge of energy. The body that was supposed to relax bounces up. The ability I awakened yesterday first entered a small space cabin. The cabin was not large, about 10 square meters, with a dim and dull ball hanging on the roof. There were some blurry lines on one side of the wider wall, making it difficult to distinguish whether it was a pattern or an accidental scratch. On one of the narrow walls, there was a black small door, which was the place where yesterday's violent emotions shook the mind, causing Sun Ji and Sun Yuelin to fall to death and drag their souls into. On the wider wall next to the small black door, there was a white door, and Chu Feng had not yet entered this space. Chu Feng had a feeling that there should be a space inside, and the size of the space depends on the size of the thing he first put in. Other abilities are unknown, but Chu Feng feels that there should be a lot more to explore. So, the most important thing at present, besides purchasing materials, is to quickly find a huge object and open the space behind the white door. When Chu Feng was in college, he also read many novels, and having a personal space for many protagonists was a great thing, making things much more convenient. Yes, that's the most important thing. How could you forget about it? But what should I find? Truck. High-speed rail. Engineering vehicle. Still, what is currently known as the largest aircraft carrier on Earth. If we could bring in an aircraft carrier, that would be impressive. Chu Feng chuckled self-deprecatingly. How could an ordinary person possibly come into contact with an aircraft carrier? It's too unrealistic. At this moment, the phone rang. It was the company's supervisor. Chu Feng, where did you die? Why didn't you come to work today? Why didn't you report when you came back? Did you sign the contract? When did the client make the payment? No organization or discipline. After a few perfunctory sentences, Chu Feng didn't feel in the mood to listen to his verbosity, so he hung up the phone directly. Suddenly, an inspiration appeared. Recently, the company has just imported a batch of agricultural equipment, so there should be a super large cargo ship parked at the port, a container cargo ship operated by the Western European Kingdom. If Chu Feng remembers correctly, this is a ship with a length of 397.7 meters, a width of 56.4 meters, a height of 76.5 meters, and a weight of 450,000 tons. Currently, it is the only ship in the world with a hull width of 22 rows of containers. Moreover, it is the most environmentally friendly and advanced container ship in the world, highly automated, and fully monitored by computer systems. If this cargo ship could be brought into space, it would probably expand the space to a very large extent. Chu Feng quickly asked his colleagues in the product department of the factory and learned that the goods ordered by the company have been transported back to the factory. The cargo ship should have been filled up again today and is about to set sail. Time waits for no one. Trying to turn a bicycle into a motorcycle, Chu Feng quickly started the vehicle and stepped on the accelerator to rush towards the direction of the port. After having a clear goal, Chu Feng felt like he had come out of the shadow of being betrayed by his fiancée A.E. The elders have said that getting busy is the best way to get out of the pain of love. As the distance from the port approached, Chu Feng saw the giant ship from afar. But it seems that the giant ship is moving and is about to leave the port. Chapter 3. The giant will disappears. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Chu Feng noticed that the cargo ship seemed to be about to leave, he pressed the accelerator all the way and drove wildly towards the port. However, Chu Feng did not directly rush into the port. After all, even if he drove into the port himself, even if he used various flying car techniques to drive to the side of the giant ship, he would definitely be caught after collecting the ship. Moreover, my driving skills are not very good either. Even though it's Sun Ji's car, I don't feel sorry if it crashes, but I still cherish my life. If the car crashes, what should I do if I crash it again? So, although Chu Feng drove very fast and didn't mind any speeding or violations, he was still relatively stable and safe overall. And the driving direction is next to the port, a wild beach that has not yet been developed. In this way, even if it is discovered in the future, there will still be an end to it. A not very beautiful flying car, Chu Feng parked it on the beach. Without getting off, he could see a giant ship moving in the distance, gradually leaving the port. Seize the time, there won't be such a good opportunity to rob a 10,000-ton ship after passing this village. Chu Feng sat in the driver's seat, recalling the feeling of using supernatural powers yesterday. A mysterious feeling arose, and Chu Feng felt like he had grown. A pair of invisible big hands starting from the heavenly cover extend your right hand forward as if to indicate direction. The invisible power of the soul gushes out, extending towards the distant giant ship. Slowly, Chu Feng felt tired and exhausted, but he still gritted his teeth and persisted. Thinking about the first half of my life that I lived in a miserable state, the ridiculous success of my career and happiness in marriage, thinking about the green grassland above my head, which is about to end the world, I don't want to live in a miserable state anymore. With a loud roar and a surge of mental energy, he suddenly moved forward and immediately made contact with the giant will. However, in order to collect the entire giant ship, it requires mental energy to completely wrap it up. However, if we can approach it, we have already exhausted all our strength. What should we do? The giant ship is still slowly adjusting its direction, gradually moving away from the port. Time waits for no one. What should we do? What should we do? Suddenly, Chu Feng thought of the world of punishment behind the little black gate, or more precisely, of the fiancé A.E. imprisoned inside. With a dual purpose, Chu Feng's consciousness quickly rushed into a world of punishment filled with black tones. Sun Ji and Sun Yuelin were still struggling and roaring, and the chains tied to their bodies were also constantly whipping. When Chu Feng's consciousness rushed in, he happened to see Sun Ji's soul becoming dim and his body becoming transparent, which was a phenomenon of his willpower gradually collapsing. Chu Feng didn't have time to think, so he pounced on Sun Ji's soul and began to nibble on it with great fanfare. Sun Yuelin, who was next to her, had originally seen Chu Feng come in and curse maliciously. However, upon seeing the scene before her, she was dumbfounded. A thick fear filled her heart, and her soul couldn't help but tremble. As he continued to nibble, Sun Ji's willpower weakened until it completely disappeared. He had already died completely. Chu Feng felt his soul constantly strengthening and expanding, and finally glanced at Sun Yuelin. Let's talk about it next time. Returning to reality, with the supplementation of Sun Ji's soul, Chu Feng's willpower swelled like a hormone, quickly enveloping the entire cargo ship. With a soft hum from Chu Feng, the space next to the cargo ship seemed to spread like a huge crack, like a ferocious beast, swallowing the cargo ship in one gulp. Because the giant ship disappeared instantly, the potholes on the sea that were once pressed out by the ship were quickly filled by the surrounding seawater, and the rushing currents collided with giant waves over 10 meters high. At this moment, the port staff were all stunned. A giant ship of 10,000 tons quickly disappeared in front of them. After a while, amidst the sounds of plants, the person in charge finally reacted and picked up the nearby phone to make a call. Chu Feng didn't think about how much shock he had left for them, nor did he have the energy. After putting away the giant wheel, he felt like his brain was about to explode, which was too painful. The last bit of rationality told him that he couldn't stay here too long, gritted his teeth, quickly started the car, and drove towards the city. I casually found an underground parking lot, and when I stopped the car, Chu Feng fell head-on on the steering wheel. The disappearance of the Maki cargo ship has caused a great response in the world. Especially the kingdoms of Western Europe have raised serious protests against the Dragon Kingdom, demanding that they give them an explanation, as the cargo ship disappeared in the Dragon Kingdom waters. The Longwa government also mobilized various departments and even cooperated with satellite investigations, but the cargo ship disappeared out of thin air, in a way that broke through everyone's understanding. Until the end of the day, there were no investigation results. Radar, satellites and other technological equipment have not captured how it disappeared at all, and the on-site staff have not seen any valuable information except for the towering waves that are several tens of meters high. Until the end of the world, people later marked the disappearance of this cargo ship as a precursor to the end of the world, the beginning of a long winter night. Of course, the protagonist of the incident is still sleeping soundly in a certain parking lot, completely unaware of how much sensation he has caused. Chu Feng, who was sore all over, woke up from the car and shook his still slightly confused brain for a moment. His memory gradually became clear, and he couldn't wait for his hungry stomach. Chu Feng eagerly entered the space cabin and looked at the white door in front of him. Chu Feng took a deep breath and slowly opened it, stepping on muddy soil. It's very real. The sky is hazy, like the mist gathered in winter, or like the dark clouds before rainy days. I don't know where light comes from, but I can see what's in this area. Surrounded by mist as hazy as the sky, with a steel giant parked in the middle. The fully loaded Maji cargo ship is nearly 100 meters high, so the space behind the 100 doors of Chu Feng is a huge space of over 3 million cubic meters high, 80 meters wide, and 400 meters long. Shocked by his own abilities, Chu Feng eagerly stepped into this giant ship. A giant ship carrying hundreds of thousands of tons not only brings vast space, but also countless supplies. Chu Feng also entered the cargo ship for the first time, so his willpower went directly to the cockpit. Entering the cockpit, the first thing you see is the crew members who have fainted to the ground. Okay, the ship is sailing, and it's normal for the crew to be on board. Feeling their pulse separately, Chu Feng apologized to them and then piled up their bodies outside the cargo ship, digging a deep pit, which was considered safe for them to bury. After searching in the cockpit for a while, I finally found the cargo list. It's all in English, I can't understand it. I pursed my lips and had to wait until I got home to show my little sister. The entire cargo ship, in addition to the huge space brought to Chu Feng, is a variety of goods and a fully automated ecosystem inside the ship. With another sigh and touch of the steel giant, Chu Feng returned to reality, feeling his stomach almost digesting him. He quickly started the car and rushed out of the parking lot. After eating 8 consecutive restaurants, I finally filled my appetite. On the one hand, it was his appetite that really increased. On the other hand, Chu Feng was worried about arousing suspicion from others, so each restaurant only ate 2 or 3 portions of food for 2 or 3 people. That's all. He also ate more than 20 people's meals to be full. No wonder my little sister asked me to prepare so much food. If everyone had superpowers, those few meals of wheat at home wouldn't be enough to eat. Chu Feng rubbed his swollen belly and picked up his phone to take a look. Oh, there are over 20 phone calls from the company manager alone. Looking at the dates, I realized that I had been sleeping for a whole day. Alright, I called my family first, reported my safety, and then drove to the logistics center to receive my supplies. Tianjiao is also recruiting workers at home, mainly to renovate the grain procurement station she runs. On the one hand, she strengthens the walls and adds a roof, as the black and gray in the sky continue to fall downwards. After adding the roof, the family's activity space will also increase. On the other hand, it is necessary to excavate underground water reservoirs under the grain station square, as water resources are extremely scarce in the post-apocalyptic era. It is also necessary to reserve water resources in advance. Moreover, in order to continue excavating the reservoir, Tianjiao also greatly excavated an underground space on the east side of her own courtyard at the grain station, storing the materials purchased by her family. And Tianjiao is constantly digging downwards. As a reborn person, she also uses this place as a base, which must be because it has extremely high quality resources. Chapter 4. Strange Events. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. After making up a portion of the final payment, Chu Feng agreed to make up the remaining balance in 7 days and finally received the nearly 5 million yuan worth of goods purchased, mainly daily necessities and food. There was also a warehouse of pet food and supplies inside. Chu Fengquan believed that it was prepared by the younger sister for the second and third children in the family. Chu Feng complained about the names of the dogs and cats at home more than once. At first, he thought he was the boss. Later, he found that his sister was Dia, and he was more like a gift. Closed the warehouse door, and Chu Feng put all the supplies into the space behind the white door. Chu Feng named it Second World. At this moment, the company manager called again, and Chu Feng thought for a moment before deciding to go to the company. Some things need to be resolved, while others will eventually have to face them. Chu Feng is a salesperson at Yunfan Agricultural Equipment Production Company. After graduating from university, he changed many jobs. In the end, he became familiar with agriculture because his family had always been running a grain procurement station. Therefore, he eventually worked as a salesperson for agricultural equipment. As a new era's for good youth, Chu Feng feels that he is still working hard. However, many times, hard work may not necessarily bring good results, but it may also be the company's intensified exploitation. Chen Hu, the supervisor of Chu Feng, is an iron rooster who is close to Sun Ji but has stronger abilities and is sharp and harsh. Every time Chu Feng goes on a business trip, he always keeps his travel expenses to the minimum, allowing him to take a green train and stay in a youth hotel, which greatly compresses Chu Feng's reimbursement space. He is different from Sun Ji. Sun Ji will also find some reasons to borrow Chu Feng's contract performance, while Chen Hu is even more blatant, lowering performance and transferring commissions, treating Chu Feng as a leak that can be constantly cut off. Chu Feng wants to return to the company, on the one hand because of his supervisor, and on the other hand because of the company's cold storage equipment, as well as some agricultural and food processing equipment, which are still valuable for several tons of wheat in his own grain depot. After all, even if it's the end of the world, you can't just chew on wheat. Chu Feng arrived at the park, and instead of driving directly to the company, he parked in a location without a camera. He came up with a more fun way. Chu Feng quietly called the supervisor, saying that this time not only did he bring back the contract, but also the other parties, small intention, and hoped to have a discussion outside the company. Chen Hu has been having a bad temper lately. On the one hand, it's because the submissive Chu Feng always refuses to answer his phone calls and easily loses contact. Chen Hu feels that his authority has been challenged. On the other hand, for the cold storage procurement contract worth over 1 million yuan in Chu Feng's hands, obtaining this contract can be considered as exceeding his year-end task, and he should be promoted to manager by then. He always believed that the contract signed by Chu Feng was his performance. Upon receiving a call from Chu Feng, Chen Hu had intended to lose his temper. However, upon hearing that the contract had been signed and some things had been brought back, Chen Hu was stunned and did not get angry. "Did you explode?" However, upon hearing Chu Feng's familiar low voice, Chen Hu regained his former feelings and should have no problem. Thinking of this, Chen Hu quietly left the company and specially put on a hat and mask. Chen Hu drove outside the company and found Sun Ji's domineering behavior parked on a remote path in the park. He couldn't help but hesitate. Sun Ji was also involved in this matter. Chu Feng is not afraid, he feels that he can completely control Chu Feng, but Sun Ji is different. Sun Ji is a ghostly person. If he also wants a share of the pie, should I reward him? Stopping the car, Chen Hu was still thinking about his thoughts when he saw a person getting off the domineering car, dressed just like himself, wearing a hat and mask. It looked like Chu Feng, heading straight towards his car. Talking in your own car is much more reassuring. The person rushed straight to the back seat and looked around before getting in the car, quite cautious. Sitting firmly in the car, before Chen Hu could speak, Chu Feng from the back seat suddenly took out a gun and pressed it against the back of Chen Hu's head. "Director Chen, please do as I say and be careful of the gun catching fire." Looking at the pistol with a silencer swaying in front of him, Chen Hu was stunned. What is Chu Feng doing? Yes, sitting in the back seat, the one who controls Chen Hu is Chu Feng. If we just give Chen Hu a beating, it can make him angry, but it doesn't have much practical significance. As for killing him, Chu Feng thinks it's unnecessary. On the one hand, it's not enough to commit a crime to death. On the other hand, it's still a peaceful and prosperous era. Sun Ji and Sun Yuelin couldn't control it at that time, and killing someone was still too difficult for Chu Feng. As for the gun, it was found by Chu Feng in the captain's cabin of the Marquis. In fact, for a cargo ship like the Marquis that sailed far away, it had its own weapon compartment. However, after entering China, it was sealed and Chu Feng did not bother to open it. A handgun was enough. What do you want to do? I tell you, don't do anything foolish. Chen Hu nervously said, "Director Chen, listen well and rest assured, I will definitely not harm you." Chu Feng slowed down his tone as much as possible and said, "Start the car and do as I say." Go to the company warehouse. Chen Hu was forced to follow suit and drive his car to the company's warehouse. On the road, when encountering a stray dog, Chu Feng shouted to stop Chen Hu, fired 2 shots at the stray dog, and took the dog to the car, showing Chen Hu that it was a real gun and being obedient. Sure enough, when Chen Hu saw it, he became even more panicked. He thought it was a prank, but he didn't expect Chu Feng to be really scared of death. He could only obediently listen. Driving all the way into the warehouse, despite Chen Hu's previous towering posture, he didn't get off the car. The warehouse security guard opened the door and asked Chen Hu to drive the car directly in. Entering the warehouse, Chu Feng first slapped Chen Hu unconscious. As he grew stronger, Chu Feng would occasionally marvel at how miraculous evolution was sitting in the car. Using his abilities to lift the canvas, he covered several cameras in the warehouse. Then, Chu Feng waved his hand and collected all the machinery in the warehouse into the second space. Fortunately, there was still a lot of space on the deck, otherwise many large machinery in the warehouse might not have been able to fit inside. Harvesters, seeders, tractors, cold storage installation parts, engines, generators, large batteries, solar panels, noodle presses, flour mills, even the shelves where these machines are placed, the forklifts used for transportation, and the ladders used by warehouse managers. Useful or useless, they are all taken away. I slapped Chen Hu's face hard and continued to threaten him. When Chen Hu drove away, the huge warehouse was empty. Threatening Chen Hu to drive out, looking at the time, Chu Feng curled up in the back seat, avoiding the cameras on the road, creating the illusion that only Chen Hu was in the car. Then he tapped his head with a gun and instructed him to drive to the largest supermarket in Haicheng, or drive all the way to the underground parking lot, find a remote corner, threaten him seriously, and knock him unconscious again. Take out a rope, randomly bundle it up, and throw it into the trunk. Although there are still quite a few loopholes, it doesn't matter anymore. I didn't show up throughout the entire process. Even if the police came to summon me, it should be tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. The day after tomorrow, which is the time when the meteorite hit the earth as mentioned by my sister, I shouldn't have time or energy to talk to myself then. Taking a nap in the car to recover the mental energy consumed by continuous use of abilities, Chu Feng quietly opened a small door from the underground parking lot and walked in after Uncle's supermarket closed in the latter half of the night. Of course, he controlled a black cloth to cover the camera head all the way. By doing the same, all the things in the supermarket were collected into the second world, including boxes of food in the warehouse, and all were emptied. The feeling of buying for 0 yuan is really satisfying. All collected, Chu Feng had already left before the door opened in the morning. Chu Feng found a car rental company and rented an off-road vehicle. Let's go home. Looking at the bustling sea city from afar, I will never come back. The disappearing cargo ship, the disappearing warehouse, the empty supermarket, and the continuous strange events have caused the police station to be extremely busy. However, I was only busy for one day, and the next day I was no longer busy, but everyone was trying to survive. Chapter 5. Where is my home? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Until the afternoon, Chu Feng finally drove back to his hometown. It's been a long time since I came back, and Chu Feng looked at the home in front of him. Did he go the wrong way? Chu Feng's family operates as a contracted land and grain procurement station, so they built a 2-story small building in their own land, with a small square and warehouse built next to it, modeled after the western farm of beautiful country. The surrounding 50 acres of land are all their own contracted land. But now, what comes into view is a circle of buildings surrounded by high walls, with a high ceiling on top, like an enlarged version of a granary. You can see that there are many cameras installed on the wall, and if you add an iron mesh, it is definitely a military base. The big trees outside have been cut down, and the view has become extremely broad, making it difficult for outsiders to approach quietly. Chu Feng, who was still daydreaming at the door, didn't know whether to go in or not. Suddenly, a girl walked out from inside, with a high ponytail, big clean eyes, a delicate face, and a very capable girl. A home that was completely unrecognizable, and a girl she didn't know. Chu Feng felt like he remembered the wrong way home. Tianwan's experiences in the past few days are just as magical as novels. Firstly, roommate Chu Tianjiao suddenly told her that she was reborn, and then she pulled herself to pack up and got into the car to her house. Tianwan once thought that her best friend had gone crazy, sitting in the car, commanding her family on the phone to purchase supplies and renovate the house, as if the end of the world was coming. Alas, let's just be nervous. My father passed away early when I was young, and my mother abandoned me to remarry and grow up with my grandparents. I didn't even wait for my grandparents to pass away. The only thing I care about in this world is this best friend. So, Tianwan followed Chu Tianjiao back to her hometown and, like her parents, tried to meet all her demands as much as possible, as if protecting a mentally ill person. Moreover, I don't know how Chu Tianjiao convinced her brother. Her brother actually strongly agrees with the argument of the end of the world, as if he even sold his house in Haicheng to purchase supplies. They are really brothers and sisters, they are going crazy together. Tianwan envies the harmony and happiness of this family. Her children are playing around, her parents are laughing, and even if she puts in all the effort, she accompanies her children to play around. This is a happiness she has never experienced before, but she has always hoped to have. Today, we have finally met Chu Tianjiao's requirements. Everyone can finally relax and come out to stretch and look at the open fields. Tianwan feels that she is still a normal person. As soon as she came out, she saw a stunned man looking up and down here, and Tianwan took the initiative to walk over. Are you? Tianwan asked. Oh, hello, my name is Chu Feng. Is this Chu's country? Chu Feng asked politely, although I remember this place, I still need to confirm. Oh, you're Jiao Jiao's brother, right? This is your home. Tianwan has heard the name Chu Feng before. Judging from his expression, well, he's not very intelligent. No wonder he's going crazy with Jiao Jiao. Hello, I'm Tianwan, my delicate college roommate. Tianwan looked at Chu Feng, who was still in a daze, and took the initiative to introduce herself, extending her right hand. Oh, hello, I'm Chu Feng, my delicate brother. Chu Feng nervously shook hands with Tianwan. Tianwan suddenly felt that this Chu Feng was quite interesting and cute. Son, you're back. Suddenly, a loud voice rang out, and a sturdy woman walked out. Mom, Chu Feng quickly stepped forward and gave Wang Guilan a big hug. Upon hearing the voices outside, Chu Jinghua and Chu Tianjiao also walked out. Brother, you have come back. Tomorrow is the end of the world. Chu Tianjiao complained. Upon hearing Chu Tianjiao's words, Chu Jinghua, Wang Guilan, and Tianwan exchanged a glance, and their condition worsened. Don't worry, I remember the time. Didn't I come back after completing your procurement task? Petting and patting my sister's head, Chu Feng said. Let's go home first, let's talk about it later. Seeing his daughter's expression, Chu Jinghua felt a headache and quickly beckoned everyone to go home first. Okay, go home first, let's talk when we get home. Chu Feng agreed as he pulled his little sister back. Entering the gate, the sunlight was noticeably weaker, and the entire acquisition station was covered with a roof. The warehouse and breeding house remained unchanged, except for the addition of a large fence, just like how an old hen at home could still collapse the wall. The self-built 2-story small building at home has not changed much, except for adding a circle of courtyard walls outside and pulling wire mesh. Wang, just as I entered the courtyard door, a big yellow dog rushed towards Chu Feng. Zai rubbed the dog's head and the family walked into the house. The family sat down in the living room, ignoring Chu Tianjiao's anxious gaze. Chu Feng picked up Sanya from the sofa and vigorously masturbated her before looking at everyone. Chu Feng first looked at Tianwan and then at his sister. Chu Tianjiao knew what his brother meant and quickly said, Waner is my own person. Show everyone your abilities quickly, otherwise they will always see me as a lunatic. Chu Feng still recognizes his sister's ability to recognize people, and since she claims to be her own, she doesn't say much. Then, look at the coffee table in front of you. Amidst the shocked gaze of his family, Chu Feng waved his hand and the coffee table flew up and down, not just straight up and down, but dancing up and down, left and right. Then, under the control of Chu Feng, all kinds of furniture in the house flew around and then fell back to their original positions. Brother, you have indeed awakened your powers. Chu Tianjiao, the first to wake up, asked in shock. In later generations, everyone believed that it was the magnetic field changes brought about by meteorites that gave people superpowers. Even before the meteorite arrived, you woke up. I still think it's amazing. I thought it was magical to be reborn, but to my surprise, my brother awakened his abilities before the meteorite arrived. Mom and Dad, Warner, you see, I'm really not lying to you. The end of the world is coming soon, and everyone may evolve in the future. Chu Tianjiao excitedly said, being treated like a lunatic these days, finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. Chu Feng sorted out his thoughts and slowly said. Yes, I have awakened the ability. In addition to this ability, there is also a space where all the purchased materials are placed. Chu Feng continued, I know you're shocked, but the fact is, if what you're saying is right, the end of the world may really be here. Chu Feng waved his hand and took out a flour mill from the space, then waved his hand and took it away, showcasing his spatial abilities. However, it is not easy for a normal person to accept the end of the world and supernatural powers. They have also experienced so much and gradually recognized it, so there is no need to worry. Anyway, my little sister said that tomorrow is the end of the world, and not accepting it is not enough. Mom and Dad, I'm hungry. Is there anything to eat at home? I want to eat braised noodles. Chu Feng decided to shift everyone's attention first. Yes, Wang Guilan said, getting up to cook. It's not as important to have a son eat as the end of the world or something. Dad, go help my mom. With her superpowers, my appetite has increased and I can eat a lot. Chu Feng said to his father, Chu Zhenghua. Having also taken away his father, Chu Feng looked at Tianwan. Tianwan glanced at Chu Tianjiao and said, I'll go help too. In the living room, there were only two siblings left. Chu Feng came to Chu Tianjiao's side and said softly, Jiao, in the previous life, it was quite difficult, right? Chu Tianjiao suddenly felt like crying when she heard these words. This time when she was reborn, no matter what she said to the people around her, her parents supported her in everything she did. However, the neurotic gaze of her parents and good friends could be felt. Chu Tianjiao gritted her teeth and persisted because she didn't want to live the lonely life of surviving alone in the past life. At the beginning of the apocalypse, the world fell into darkness. Chu Tianjiao, who was originally studying in the south, had no relatives and relied on Tianwan to survive. Tianwan later died to protect herself, even though she made some friends. However, she was eventually betrayed by her friends. It can be said that in the previous life, Chu Tianjiao's experience was very dark and cold. In this life, she made up her mind to make use of the information she had, accumulate a large amount of resources in the early stage, establish a huge force, and make her family's life even better than it is now. In the kitchen, Chu Zhenghua and Wang Guilan stir-fry and cook, while below Tianwan, the three of them are busy and gradually filled with shock. Since Chu Feng came back and said he wanted to eat noodles, he has already ordered 8 packs of hanging noodles. But when it was brought to the living room, none of the three of them went to sit on the sofa for a while, and Chu Feng had eaten all of it, and he hadn't eaten enough yet. The three of them continued to cook, while Chu Feng continued to eat, like a bottomless pit filled with dissatisfaction. The key is that after eating so much, Chu Feng's stomach did not grow at all. Chapter 6. Abnormal. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chu Feng kept eating noodles, while Chu Tianjiao was beside him telling him about the end times and supernatural powers. The meteorite, which I don't know how to appear, will collide with Earth tomorrow, followed by a volcanic eruption. The Earth will be enveloped in thick dust, followed by low temperatures, and the surface temperature will continue to drop below -50 degrees Celsius for more than half a year. Afterwards, the Earth will expand and the surface area will increase. Paired with the sound of Chu Feng's suction, Chu Tianjiao spoke calmly. The superpower appeared after a meteorite hit Earth, and a variety of superpowers are collectively referred to as the evolutioner and the new human. However, until my death, the secret of the superpower was not unlocked in later generations. I only know a few characteristics. Firstly, evolutionists are very capable of eating, and as their abilities become stronger, they become more capable of eating, which should require a significant amount of energy supplementation. However, it is difficult for powerful evolutionists to emerge in later generations because food is too difficult to find. Even if the sun appears 6 months later, it is still difficult to cultivate the original food crops on Earth, and human food is mainly mutated beasts, whose flesh and blood are also full of energy. Therefore, it is difficult for humans and mutated beasts to coexist peacefully. Secondly, the abilities of evolutionary beings are diverse, and the ways to improve them that have been summarized in later generations include fitness exercises to enhance physical fitness, absorption of meteorite crystals and energy, high-energy rocks that are unknown to be brought by meteorites or inherent on Earth, and finally, eating more. Moreover, the powers of the evolutioner cannot be used without limitations. Using powers consumes a lot of physical and mental energy and requires constant supplementation. By the way, there is a speculation in later generations that if one can have close contact with meteorites, they should be able to master abilities and become evolutionists. However, after each meteorite falls, it will gradually sink into the ground, and the longest one will remain above the surface for about 3 hours. This process is irreversible. After eating 8 packs of noodles in a row, Chu Feng finally felt full. So, everyone returned to the living room and vaguely heard Chu Tianjiao's description. At this moment, Wang Guilan was holding Chu Tianjiao and gently caressing her, with a low expression. Yes, if it was really the end of the world and her daughter was reborn, then she had died in her previous life. That is to say, after tomorrow's meteorite falls, the most important thing is for everyone to come into contact with the meteorite and see if they can awaken their abilities and become evolutionists. After listening to Chu Tianjiao's description, Tianwan's mood also fluctuated. However, she quickly calmed down and pondered, saying, "Yes." Chu Tianjiao gently shook his mother's hand, gesturing that she was okay, and continued, "Based on my previous life experience, one of the first meteorites should land on our land, so let's go and try it together tomorrow. Since my brother has evolved, let him escort us." "No problem. Now that things are clear, let's take a look at our preparations. Based on my appetite, if all of us become evolutionists, the food we need will be huge." Chu Feng summarized. At the beginning, an evolutioner's appetite is about that of more than 10 ordinary people, and as they increase, their appetite will continue to increase. Our granary still has more than 10 tons of wheat, about 20 tons of water stored under the small square, and 7 or 8 tons of convenient food for preservation, which are placed in the cellar under the east house. Chu Tianjiao listed them one by one. "Brother, there should still be quite a few of you, right? Well, the Ma Ji cargo ship that disappeared from Haicheng the day before yesterday was taken away by me, and I also purchased some food, clothing, daily necessities, and so on." Chu Feng said calmly. But his calm words brought unparalleled shock to others. "The Ma Ji. That's the world's largest container ship, it's 400 meters long. Can you move such a big thing?" Tianwan exclaimed in surprise. "Yes, it can be considered as a benefit when the ability first awakens." Next, the family chatted for a while, and the old couple went to rest early. There are still many things to do tomorrow. Chu Tianjiao, Chu Feng, and Tianwan arrived at the living room. Chu Tianjiao specially made room for a gym, and Chu Tianjiao proposed to test Chu Feng's current strength. Chu Tianjiao purchased some equipment, but not a lot. With a big wave of his hand, Chu Feng moved out some of the equipment from the gym of the crew of the Maji, and the room was suddenly filled with a lot. Although I haven't studied the system, I haven't eaten pork and haven't seen pigs running. Chu Feng walked up to a bench press device and wanted to see how strong he was now. "By the way, do you two know each other now?" "My best friend, Tianwan," our flower department. Chu Tianjiao lightly pulled Tianwan to Chu Feng's side, watching him busy, and said, "Got to know each other," the two of them said in unison, looking at each other and laughing. "It seems that progress has been good. In the previous life, Tianwan and I were good friends, and there were not many people to notify at her home, so we came back." Chu Tianjiao explained briefly. "Oh," Chu Feng casually agreed. "The person was already lying down, and I didn't try much at first, about 80 kilograms, which is about the level of an ordinary adult. It's easy to push, quite easy. We'll add it to you." Chu Tianjiao pulled Tianwan and picked up the load plate to add it to Chu Feng. "Okay," effortlessly pushed up, the two continued to add. "Not bad, not bad, not bad." The two girls were sweating profusely from exhaustion, but Chu Feng still easily pushed them up, weighing 300 kilograms. Chu Feng got up and added all the counterweight pieces. After trying them out, it was almost 400 kilograms, a weight of 800 pounds. Chu Feng tried a deep squat again, weighing 500 kilograms of barbell. Continuing to do other tests, Chu Tianjiao had her previous life experience and felt okay. Tianwan was stunned beside her. "That's too abnormal. Looking at Chu Feng's not very strong body, he can have such great power. It's too against my will to try. How's it going? Are you interested? Is your boyfriend strong enough?" Chu Tianjiao gently pushed against Tianwan, who was in a daze upon hearing her best friend's words. Tianwan's face blushed unconsciously and she said, "What are you saying? You don't want to be shameless." "I didn't say anything. What are you thinking? Are you distracted?" Chu Tianjiao moved on. "I didn't think anything. I'm ignoring you anymore." Tianwan's face turned even redder. However, as she spoke, her gaze never left Chu Feng. "Hurry up. My brother is only 4 years older than you, and the end of the world is coming soon. It will be difficult to find someone with such a strong boyfriend in the future." Chu Tianjiao actually brought Tianwan back with her own selfish intentions. On the one hand, she wanted to protect her well. In the previous life, Tianwan died to save herself. On the other hand, she knew that the best way to get her older brother out of Sun Yuelin's betrayal was to start a new relationship at this point. Chu Feng also tested it almost, which is basically equivalent to 10 times the strength of an adult. He also heard his sister's words, and Tianwan was also very heroic and beautiful. However, when he thought of Sun Yuelin, who was still being imprisoned in the world of punishment, Chu Feng didn't have much mood. "Alright, go back and rest early. There's a lot to do tomorrow," he said, pushing the two of them out and returning to his room on the second floor. Throwing himself onto the bed, Chu Feng realized that he had entered a second world and needed to carefully check what was on the cargo ship. Chapter 7. The End of the World Comes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chu Feng just showed the goods list to the younger sister. Only then did I realize that there was only one rough idea above, which company they were all from and where they were being shipped to, but what specific goods are they? You still need to open and view it yourself. So, Chu Feng began to count the supplies one by one. After boarding the cargo ship, containers were opened one by one. Looking at it, not to mention, there are quite a few categories of things. Clothing, food, potatoes, onions, chili peppers, cucumbers, tomatoes, cat food, dog food, pet supplies, cars, bicycles, accessories, leather toilet, sofa, cabinet, chair, tea, coffee, sword, guangdong knife, tang knife, Japanese knife, medicine, medical equipment, solar panels, computers, gaming consoles, mahjong tables. There are various things that are useful but not useful anyway. After browsing through most of the night, I feel that it should be sufficient in the short term. Next, Chu Feng went into the cabin. Inside the weapon compartment, there are many types of pistols, machine guns, and bullets. After all, the ocean is not peaceful either. In the freezer, there is a large reserve of beef, sheep, pigs, rabbits, chicken, vegetables, fruits, hamburgers, bread, and seafood. There are both goods and food for the crew. In the cabin, there is also an ecological cabin, there is a complete set of hydroponic vegetables, fish-vegetable symbiosis system, and lighting system inside. It seems that the crew also have fresh vegetables and fruits on board, they really enjoy life. After tapping lightly for most of the night, I finally had some points. Chu Feng lies resting on the land of space. Actually, what he is most curious about is still this space. The land inside is actually the same as the land on Earth. Can we farm on this? Chu Feng suddenly thought of it. Just think of it and do it. Find the tools and the equipment collected in the company's warehouse and start digging. Dig a pit, bury some soil, several times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I found some seeds inside the container of the cargo ship. Chu Feng cultivated a small piece of land, about 10 meters square, sprinkle seeds, pour some water, and look forward to the next morning. Chu Feng heard his mother's call. When I came to the living room, I saw a large bowl of porridge and 4 small bowls. It seems that yesterday's appetite really surprised my parents. A large pot of porridge is really hungry. Drink congee with a thin grunt. It's warm and cool. What's the schedule for today? Chu Feng asked. Tianwan followed Wang Guilan to tidy up the table. Tianjiao glanced at the tablet in her hand. Surveillance has been installed around the small courtyard and acquisition station to monitor the surroundings at any time. It should be around noon when the meteorite will suddenly appear, impact on Earth. For the next hour, global volcanic eruptions, Earth's closure, so, it's best for us to go to the location where the meteorite fell and wait in advance. Seize the time to contact the meteorite. Chu Tianjiao said at the beginning of the apocalypse, it was relatively stable. It will take about a week for social order to become chaotic, so, we can do some more preparation ahead. Okay, listen to you. Chu Feng called everyone to the restaurant. I also have something to tell everyone. With a wave of his hand, amidst the shocked gazes of everyone, Chu Feng took out 5 pistols, 5 long guns, and several boxes of bullets. I found these in the weapons room of the cargo ship. Since it's the end of the world, we also need to prepare some weapons. Even evolutionists should not be able to catch bullets with their bare hands, so, firearms have always been powerful weapons. Chu Feng said seriously. That's right, I didn't expect my brother to get these. This is much stronger than the tools I prepared. Chu Tianjiao looked at the weapon that Chu Feng had taken out, eyes shining, picking up a pistol, skilled disassembly and assembly. Watching Chu Tianjiao skillfully use firearms, everyone recognized her identity as a reborn person more. There is still some time until noon. Under the guidance of Professor Chu Tianjiao, everyone began to familiarize themselves with practicing the use of firearms. Are you sure? Chen Xiu said quietly. Big brother, make sure. These days, several large trucks arrived at their doorstep. Moreover, this grain procurement station has also been renovated. Like a prison, there must be good things. Chen Sirui said. I hope what you said is right. At this moment, 2 figures were touching Chu Feng's house. The Chu Feng family was completely unaware of this. It's almost time, let's tidy up, get ready to go. Chu Tianjiao glanced at the time and interrupted everyone who was still familiar with firearms. Everyone heard this and started to go back to the house to tidy up, change into lighter clothes. Brother, come with me. Chu Tianjiao brought Chu Feng to the east room of the small courtyard. 2 people went down to the cellar. Well, it's not appropriate to call it the cellar now. This place has been greatly expanded by Chu Tianjiao, and it is more suitable to call it a basement. At this moment, there were many large boxes placed in the basement. It should be all the materials prepared by Chu Tianjiao. In a corner of the basement, there is also a small drilling machine placed. It seems that Chu Tianjiao is still thinking of digging deeper. After Chu Tianjiao came down, he skillfully found several large boxes. Take out a set of protective clothing, a respirator, and headlights. Brother, you put these into your space. I don't know how long it will take for the process of evolution, and then the outside will definitely be pitch black. Moreover, black ash will continue to fall from the sky, and inhaling too much can be fatal. With a wave of his hand, Chu Feng put these away. The 2 of them returned to the courtyard, and Chu Zhenghua, Wang Guilan, and Tian Wan were ready. each person only brought a pistol and wore simple clothes. It is worth mentioning that Tianjiao is wearing a blue sportswear, showcasing a rather magnificent figure. A high-combed ponytail, a face without makeup, exudes even more heroic charm. After the meteorite lands, technology products on Earth will no longer be usable for a short period of time, so, let's drive over, but when we come back, we can only walk. Pushing Chu Feng, who was a bit dazed, let him go drive. Tianjiao walked over to Tianjiao's side. I patted my perky buttocks and whispered, "Little girl, you said you're not interested. You've been dressed up for quite some time, right?" "No, I'm not. I'm naturally beautiful." Tianjiao refused to be outdone and also slapped Tianjiao. "Didi," Chu Feng patted the horn, interrupted the two women who were playing around and called for everyone to get in the car. Chu Xinghua locked the door. Chu Feng drove towards the location that Tianjiao had mentioned. The meteorite came suddenly, and there was no warning from technological products on Earth, just like suddenly appearing in Earth space, when everyone didn't react, crashed straight into the Earth. From meteorite impact on Earth to volcanic eruption, in just 1 hour, the Earth completed its self-closure. Sunshine, it's gone. According to later statistics, this meteorite landing, the direct result is the expansion of the Earth and the revival of spiritual energy, the increase in surface area, ocean area, and species evolution. Indirect earthquakes and tsunamis caused a certain island country to disappear directly. 80% of human buildings on the ground have collapsed or been damaged, and a large number of human gathering areas do not exist. Countless human deaths have been caused directly or indirectly. The ongoing disasters have greatly increased the difficulty of human survival. Until the emergence of the strong evolutionists among humans, leading humans to establish a survival base has slightly improved the overall environment. However, even in the later stages of meteorite rain, human beings have evolved extensively, and there are more and more powerful individuals, but the living environment can only be maintained and cannot be the dominant force on Earth anymore. After all, animals and plants were formed during the first meteorite. We have basically completed the evolution and recombination of the population structure. Although there may be competition within the organization, it is all benign competition. Work together for the survival and growth of the ethnic group. But unlike humans, human intelligence is very high, desire is infinite, so no matter when, human internal friction never stops. This is, even with a strong population base, even if there are more and more evolutionists and stronger ones, but the human living environment has never been well improved. And the series of impacts caused by this meteorite impact, for other organisms on Earth, but it is an opportunity for a leap in the essential level of life. For various biological populations, both intelligence, physical strength, and energy have greatly improved. This is difficult to achieve during normal evolutionary processes. So, in the summary of future generations, this disaster on Earth, it's just for humans, but for other animals and plants, it's more like an opportunity. Even for the Earth itself, it is an opportunity for evolution. Chapter 8. The Beginning of Evolution. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. A small meteor crashed straight into the farmland in the eastern plain of Dragon Kingdom. A meteorite crater was formed, and the dust dissipated, causing the temperature to dissipate. Purple meteorites leaked out, and the surface had crystallized. The sky is gradually being covered by thick dust. Although it is a sunny day at noon, the sunlight is getting weaker and weaker. Looking at the increasingly dim weather outside, Chu Feng knew that the end of the world had indeed arrived. After waiting for a while, Chu Feng put on his protective suit and face mask, and came down to feel it. Apart from the weather getting darker and the temperature getting lower, it was just the continuously falling black ash, and there were no other problems. Calling for their families to get off the car, the 5 of them walked towards the place where the small meteorite fell. The sky was getting darker, but Chu Feng felt that his gaze was not greatly affected. Evolutioners not only possess abilities, but also become more powerful in their facial features and body. Tianjiao's voice came from behind. Here we are. Chu Feng waved his hand and stopped everyone. In front of me is a meteorite crater, with a purple-red meteorite in the middle. After confirming with Tianjiao, Chu Feng led everyone to approach the meteorite. As he approached, Chu Feng felt an instinctive desire in his body to approach the meteorite. It seemed that this was indeed the root of evolution. As they approached the meteorite, there was no danger. Next, under the guidance of Tianjiao, everyone took off their gloves and reached out to touch the meteorite. Chu Feng did not go, he restrained his instinctive impulse, holding a gun in his right hand and a knife in his left hand, looking around, guarding against potential risks. Fortunately, there was no danger. The first one to complete the evolution was Tianjiao. Chu Feng saw that her body seemed to have a lightning bolt passing by. Tianjiao withdrew her palm and shouted to Chu Feng, "Brother, I'm hungry." Chu Feng quickly took out a large box of chocolate bars and handed them to his sister. Tianjiao grabbed them and started stuffing them into her mouth, like a hungry wolf that had been hungry for a long time. It seems that this is what little sister said: evolution requires a lot of energy consumption. Next was Tianwan. When she put down her palm, Chu Feng also handed over a large box of chocolate bars without saying thank you. Tianwan also took a big bite. Two people flaunted 2 boxes of chocolate bars before stopping, which was an unprecedented experience for the 2 women who had been controlling their body shape. "It's okay, brother, you go." Chu Tian took a gentle breath and stretched his body, as if adapting to the newly mastered ability, and said to Chu Feng. Tianwan didn't speak, she was probably thinking about her own abilities. Chu Feng placed his hand on the meteorite and felt a pure energy rush into his body, as if his soul had become stronger, and the second world and disaster world had also become larger. Then, he felt hunger, deep into his soul, wanting to consume his stomach. Quickly taking out various high-calorie foods, Chu Feng also began to eat in large bites, consuming the total amount of Tianjiao and Tianwan. Chu Feng feels that his abilities have been strengthened. However, after Chu Feng recovered, both his parents had not yet moved, and it was unclear whether they were unable to evolve or for some reason. After a while, the two still didn't react, and Chu Feng decided to interrupt them. It wouldn't be a problem if this continued. As a result, when Chu Feng took their hands off the meteorite, the two of them fainted and were so scared that Chu Feng felt like he had caught them. What was going on? Tianjiao also nervously came over to check, for some reason. But it was Tianwan who gave her guess. Could it be that the 2 elderly people needed more energy and couldn't replenish it on their own, protecting their bodies and causing the other 2 to fall into a coma? Chu Feng felt that this explanation was quite reasonable. Next, we need to find a way to replenish their energy without eating anything, Tianwan continued. Let's go back and give them intravenous fluids. This should work. Okay, Chu Feng picked up the 2 elderly people and walked back, with Tianjiao and Tianwan following behind. However, before leaving, Chu Feng gave it a try and actually collected the meteorite into the second world. Now the physical fitness of the 3 has improved significantly. Although they cannot drive back, their running speed is not slow at all, and they quickly returned to the small courtyard. Place the 2 elderly people on the bed, and Chu Feng takes out the equipment from the cargo ship's medical hold. However, neither of them has studied medicine and cannot receive intravenous fluids. Let me give it a try. Tianwan said, my ability seems to be X.ray, which can see through the human body. Let me give it a try. The 2 siblings had no other choice but to hand it over to Tianwan. Tianwan did not disappoint her expectations and successfully completed the injection and infusion. 2 elderly people were placed inside the room, and the 3 of them arrived at the small living room on the 2nd floor, frowning. I remember, you can also use meteorite crystals. Meteorite crystals can provide energy to evolutionists. Tianjiao suddenly tapped her forehead and said. I remember, at the nearest Lion City Zoo, there should be a meteorite crystal. Okay, let's go get it. Chu Feng immediately decided to rush over. Don't worry, how can we get there? It's a few tens of kilometers, Jiao. I remember you said you had the ability to modify a car and it could still be used. You can modify it, and I'll go with brother Chu Feng. You stay at home. Tianwan arranged. Okay, the two siblings had no objection. Tianwan and Chu Tianjiao went to the warehouse to dismantle it, while Chu Feng prepared to go out. Chu Tianjiao modified the car by extracting various parts, using lightning power to brush them once, and then assembling them to make the car usable. There is no sunlight outside, and the temperature has dropped to 0 degrees, with black ash falling from the sky. It was still Chu Feng driving, and this time Tianwan sat in the passenger seat. Due to their evolution, the two individuals have a certain level of night vision ability. Tianwan's weakness is that she can see up to 7 or 8 meters, while Chu Feng can see around 20 meters. Chu Feng drove the car, even with the lights on, the visible distance was not very far. With Chu Feng's night vision ability and evolved reaction ability, the speed was stable and there were no accidents. In the second year of the apocalypse, to the west of Haicheng, an evolutionary powerhouse established the Wild Lion Survival Base, and in just half a year, he entered the top 20 of the Dragon Kingdom survival bases. You should know that even in the second year of the apocalypse, the government of the Dragon Kingdom was still in operation, leveraging its infrastructure maniac to create survival bases throughout the country and encouraging recognition of the bases created by powerful evolutionists. Therefore, a large number of bases were built on the land of the Dragon Kingdom in the second year of the apocalypse. Being able to rank in the top 20 among these bases is already impressive. Whether it's comprehensive strength, the number of strong players, or the combat power of top-level strong players, the Quang Lion base is truly deserving of its reputation. Later on, it was rumored that the reason why the Wild Lion base developed so rapidly was because he discovered a high-order meteorite crystal. Of course, this news has never been confirmed, but there must be something nearby. After the two of them set off, Chu Tianjiao was not idle either. Instead, she used her powers to wash away each of the technological equipment at home, especially the surveillance cameras around her. After all the adjustments were made, Chu Tianjiao also noticed two sneaky figures approaching the door amidst the alarm sound. Chapter 9. Horror Zoo. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The road is not quiet at all. The meteorite came suddenly, and electronic devices such as cars suddenly broke down, many people were trapped on the road, and the outside world quickly turned into pitch black. In addition, earthquakes and occasional roaring of exotic beasts make people afraid to come out while hiding in cars. Chu Feng drove non-stop all the way. No one can stop their determination to find meteorite crystal and save their parents. Chu Feng is not a deity, let alone a saint. Limited ability cannot save everyone. Now my parents are in a coma, and no one knows if time will affect the absorption of energy, especially when parents are getting older. This energy-deficient physical state, no one can say for sure if it will have any impact on the future. So, it's important to be fast. Chu Feng wished he could step on the accelerator in the car and move forward at full speed. However, it is quite difficult to find the right path in the dark night. Tianwan sat in the passenger seat, holding the map prepared by Chu Tianjiao in advance, while trying to look out of the car, looking for visible road signs. Driving for dozens of kilometers, even if encountering traffic jams, an hour or so has almost arrived. However, in the vast darkness, it is too difficult to find a zoo dozens of kilometers away. After driving for over 3 hours, Tianwan used more than one detection scan and finally found it. After the two got off the car, Chu Feng immediately put it away. At the beginning of the apocalypse, having a means of transportation was very good. It can't be stolen. Without the car, the two of them were completely plunged into darkness. Tianwan unconsciously leaned against Chu Feng's side. It was too dark. The gate of the zoo is like a crawling monster, opening its ferocious mouth, waiting for prey to arrive. At this point, it has been 4 hours since the end of the world began. People can no longer be seen in the once bustling urban areas and zoos. Everyone should hurry home as soon as possible, or find an indoor shelter to avoid the black ash falling from the sky. Just before Chu Feng and his team arrived, an earthquake caused by a meteorite fall occurred in the zoo, causing many walls to collapse and animals to scatter and flee. Carnivorous animals evolve at a faster pace. The pure meteorite magnetic field covers the surface. Many animals have shown signs of evolution. Occupy territory, hunt for food, replenish energy. After 3 hours of chaos and hunting in the zoo, after Chu Feng and his companions arrived, they fell into silence. As soon as they walked into the door, Chu Feng and Tianjiao coincidentally felt a palpitations and attraction. Looking at each other, it seems that there is really something good here. Just entered the door. It was a forest passage, pitch black. Chu Feng held a steel knife tightly in his right hand, while Tianjiao held a gun in both hands. 2 people, one in front and one behind, one close and one long. Range, slowly walking towards the inside. The meteorite fell to the ground, and the world began to fall into darkness. Chu Feng is adapting to his evolved body, especially after touching the meteorite to elevate oneself again. For the utilization of the 5 senses and the control of the limbs, Chu Feng is consciously adjusting to adapt quickly. Tianjiao, who was following behind, was a bit distracted at this moment. As the end of the world approaches, she has always remained calm. That's all just a pretense, rationality overwhelming the fear of the unknown. At this moment, walking behind Chu Feng, looking at his back, Tianjiao felt a sense of security that she had never felt since her father passed away. Whoosh, just as Tianjiao was lost in thought, a sound of breaking through the air rang out. In the darkness, a slender figure shot towards Tianjiao from the tall trees. Ah! Tianjiao couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, but the speed of the shadow was too fast, and there was no time for Tianjiao to react. Although it's unclear what it is, however, Tianjiao could feel that she had become prey. And it's also an inescapable prey to escape from. Shua, Tianjiao only saw a snow-white knife light sliding in front of her. With a snap, 2 broken slender figures fell to the ground. At this moment, Tianjiao finally reacted and pretended to be calm. With his night vision ability, he saw 2 broken pythons on the ground. Taking a deep breath, Tianjiao said to Chu Feng, "Thank you, Brother Chu." But when she looked at Chu Feng, discovering that Chu Feng was still in a sword-wielding position without moving, is it because he was injured? Tianjiao thought of this and quickly wanted to walk over to take a look. As a result, just as Tianjiao lifted her foot, the originally motionless snake body suddenly pulled the ground, rushing towards Tianjiao again at a faster speed. She even saw Mengran's open snake bite towards her mask. "Did you just die like this?" Tianjiao's exclamation is not over yet. "I felt like I was being held by a powerful arm and flew away." While Chu Feng held Tianjiao in one hand, standing up with a steel knife in one hand, he cut the snake in half by following its mouth. Taking a deep breath, my body relaxed a bit from its tense state. The python should have died completely this time. With a wave of his hand, he collected the python that had turned into 3 sections. After the apocalypse, exotic beasts are very precious carnivores. Not only does it taste more fragrant, but it can also provide a trace amount of energy for evolutionists. Looking at Tianjiao, who was still daydreaming in her arms, Chu Feng gently pushed her away and asked, "Are you okay?" After standing firm, Tianjiao blushed slightly. Lowering his head, he said, it's okay, there is both fear of escaping death and shyness. Be careful, the animals here are already extraordinary." Chu Feng instructed to continue walking forward along the direction of being attracted. Animals don't care about Tianjiao, who is bustling with deer at this moment. In their eyes, these 2 are moving energy reservoirs. So, after killing another colliding alpaca, at Chu Feng's reminder, Tianjiao finally remembered her superpower. Tianjiao's abilities are still very effective. The line of sight is no longer affected by darkness, but is divided into 3 colors. Black, white, and gray. Plants, animals, and obstacles saw more clearly in her eyes. On the right, there is a very large animal. The left is safe. There is a deer in the front left. Be careful, it's charging over. With Tianjiao's reminder, Chu Feng can prepare in advance. He is no longer nervous as he was at the beginning, waving his steel knife in his hand, with more than 20 times the strength of an adult. He cut open the deer's head with a single blow. With a wave of his hand, he collected the deer corpse and the two continued to move forward. With Tianwan's reminder, Chu Feng unleashed all his might, quickly advanced to the bottom of a tall wall. Xiangshan is the source of that attraction. Are you okay? Chu Feng felt Tianwan's slightly rapid breathing and asked with concern, It's okay, I can persist, Brother Chu. Tianwan took a moment to catch her breath and said, Always using superpowers consumes too much physical energy. It's okay, it's already here. Let's take a break before going in. Speaking, taking Tianwan to a corner, the two of them nestled there, holding various foods and began to eat them in large gulps. With the replenishment of energy, Tianwan's energy finally regained some. Immediately after feeling the Chu breeze within reach, my mind began to wander again, especially leaning on Chu Feng, feeling his sturdy body in the power to kill animals. No, 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 what are you thinking? Tianwan shook her head in panic and quickly stood up. Moving the body is what calms down the hot and dry heart. Chu Feng also felt the changes in the people around him. He's not good at saying anything either. Once bitten by a snake for 10 years, Chu Feng is now somewhat distrustful of women. Just as Tianwan was moving her body around, calming down the restlessness in her heart, suddenly, a gust of wind rushed down from above. Tianwan's body suddenly stiffened, and she looked up to see a ferocious face, fang exposed, bright red eyes, and high waving claws. Done, Tianwan once again felt that death was so close to her. Moreover, this time it's a bit far from Chu Feng, so he won't be able to do it himself in time. Peng and Tianwan felt like they were trapped in a solid embrace, uncontrolled. The body followed and flew up. When Chu Feng saw the dark shadow, he didn't have time to take his knife, can only rush over quickly and block the catch for Tianwan, holding Tianwan and rolling on the ground, placing her behind her. Turning around, he took out his steel knife again and charged towards the dark figure. Brushing and brushing, Tianwan regained her senses. I saw that Chu Feng had already started fighting with that monkey. Tianwan quickly activated her powers and reminded her, right leg injured, attack right leg. Chu Feng received a reminder and flicked his right hand to the left. There was a momentary pause as the monkey dodged to the right and landed on its right leg. Chu Feng once again took out a steel knife with his left hand and swung it flat on his back. Shua, Chu Feng's strange power, combined with a sharp steel knife, instantly sliced open the monkey's belly horizontally. The monkey let out a scream and jumped back, taking advantage of your illness and taking your life. How could Chu Feng give up such an opportunity and take another turn? Probe forward with your right foot and strike the steel knife with your right hand flat again. Smooth cut through the monkey's throat, completely die. Double swords pounding the ground, Chu Feng gasped for breath. Brother Chu, I'm sorry. Behind her, Tianwan came with a crying voice. Chapter 10. Moments of Life and Death. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Upon hearing Tianwan's crying, Chu Feng felt the burning pain in his back. It seemed that the monkey had left a considerable wound on his back. Waving his hand, he picked up the monkey and stumbled towards the corner where he had just sat, saying with ease, It's okay, this small injury will heal in a little while. Tianwan quickly helped Chu Feng sit down, but couldn't control the tears falling down. Since her father's death, Tianwan has felt that she shouldn't have come into this world. My mother despised me as a burden and left me to marry a distant land. Even my uncles and aunts didn't want to take care of me, so only my grandparents barely gave me a bite to eat. After going to college, her grandparents also passed away, and Tianwan never returned to her hometown again. It's been a long time since anyone treated him so well. Brother Chu got hurt trying to save himself. This is disinfectant, please help me wipe it, I can't see it. Chu Feng took out a bottle of medical alcohol and a piece of gauze, handed it to Tianwan. Although he felt that his recovery ability should also be good, he still needed to disinfect it. Who knows what was on the paw of that dead monkey? Tianwan worked hard to calm her emotions, gently uncovering the torn clothes behind Chu Feng, pouring alcohol onto the ferocious wound, and gently wiping the surroundings with gauze. Hiss, Chu Feng gritted his teeth and endured it. It really hurts. Is this the price of heroes saving beauty? Chu Feng thought to himself, mocking himself. With Tianwan's wiping, the wound behind Chu Feng was rapidly scabbing. After all, he was a more advanced evolutioner, and his body's recovery ability was still very strong. After a while, the wound on Chu Feng's back had scabbed. Chu Feng moved his arm and didn't feel much pain anymore. There was no problem anymore. I'll change clothes. Chu Feng felt a cool breeze coming from his back. It seemed that clothes couldn't be worn anymore, so he found another set of clothes in the space and put them on. Chu Feng was not hiding anything, so Tianwan blushed again. Just now, I was still sad. Looking at Chu Feng's muscular upper body, Tianwan tried her best not to step forward and touch it. Not to mention, Chu Feng's body is now about the same as that of a professional bodybuilder, and it's not that kind of dead muscle, but full of strength. Ignoring Tianwan's expression, Chu Feng, who had changed into a new outfit, moved around and felt that there was no problem. He said, "Let's go." The last stop. Tianwan nodded forcefully, as if she wanted to throw those unhealthy thoughts out of her head. She followed Chu Feng to find a small door and walked in. Entering Xiangshan, there is no chaos outside, but there is a strong, bloody smell. As far as I can see, there are all kinds of minced meat and corpses, which may be the reason why there aren't many animals left in the entire zoo. Carefully feel that the attraction is coming from the opposite corner. As the two of them walked in, a sturdy black figure stood up in that corner, changing people. As the huge black shadow walked in, the black bear, which was over 2 meters tall, looked at the 2 small pieces of meat that had voluntarily entered, licked its lips, and became hungry again. Looking at the physique of the black bear, Chu Feng felt that the steel knife in his hand had lost its weight. So, as soon as his luck reached out, he took out a huge guan dao and waved it, almost done. One person and one bear rushed towards each other at the same time, and the bear's paw and guan dao quickly slammed together. The bear's paw did not shatter the big knife, nor did the knife cut off the bear's paw. Chu Feng could see clearly that all he did was leave a wound on the bear's paw. Under the right rib, there is a broken bone. Tianwan's voice came from behind, and Chu Feng's gaze shifted to the right waist of the black bear, as if he knew its weakness. The black bear jumped back and did not attack again, but instead looked at Tianwan, who had just entered. Seemingly knowing that this 2-legged beast could see through its own wound, the black bear rushed towards Tianwan. Tianwan was flustered in her heart, but she gritted her teeth and didn't move. Sure enough, Chu Feng jumped up and blocked the black bear, waving her sword and slashing it horizontally at its waist. The black bear was also unwilling to be outdone, with its 2 paws fluttering in the air. While patting the flying sword, it slapped Chu Feng's head. Flashing past, the black bear kept castrating and continued to charge towards Tianwan. Chu Feng let out a loud roar, no longer only attacking the waist, but vigorously slashing at the bear's leg. With a normal roar, the black bear felt pain under its feet and suddenly fell to the ground. Chu Feng spun with greater force and slashed down at the back of the black bear. The black bear rolled and avoided the blade, but was still hit in the bear's leg. Crawling quickly on all fours, Chu Feng stood in front of Tianwan again. Its legs are almost broken, and it won't be able to use any force, Tianwan reminded from behind. Chu Feng nodded, took a breath, clenched his sword, and charged towards the black bear. The black bear's fierce anger was also aroused and charged towards Chu Feng. Chu Feng raised his guan dao high and fiercely swung it down towards the black bear. The black bear's palms met and firmly grasped the guan dao. Chu Feng gave up his guan dao and saw another steel knife in his hand. He clenched his hands and slashed at the bear's leg, which was cut off by Chu Feng with a click. Black Bear let out a scream, grabbed his guandao and threw it at Chu Feng. He dodged and Chu Feng raised his steel knife and threw it at Black Bear's neck. The Black Bear quickly reached out its paw to block it, but the flying steel knife flashed strangely in the air, hitting the bear's neck with even greater force, cutting the entire steel knife in. This is also a sudden inspiration from Chu Feng. Can his spiritual power control the steel knife? After trying it out, it was really good. I took the opportunity to push it against the steel knife again before finally achieving success. Chu Feng gritted his teeth and took out another steel knife, guarding Tianjiao in front of him, staring at the Black Bear. The Black Bear's neck was cut in half, and death was inevitable. There was no need to go up again to welcome the Black Bear's dying counterattack. The Black Bear also knew that his life was not long. He gave Chu Feng a fierce glance and stumbled towards the corner where he had just stayed. Halfway through the climb, Chu Feng ran out of breath. He slowly walked over and waved his hand to put away the Black Bear and knife, pulling Tianjiao to the position where the Black Bear had just stayed. "Let me do it," felt Chu Feng's heavy breathing, and Tianjiao took the steel knife from Chu Feng's hand and started digging towards the ground. Chu Feng didn't stop him either. He turned around and looked in other directions, guarding against possible sneak attacks. At the same time, he took out his food and began to eat heavily. The battle just now was too exhausting. Ding, with a crisp sound, Tianjiao felt like she had dug it up. Chu Feng came over and expanded the crater, digging out the meteorite crystals below, which were over 1 meter long, wide, and high, shimmering with a purple-red color similar to that of meteorites. Looking at the meteorite crystal in front of him and feeling the waves of pure energy actively flowing towards his body, Chu Feng felt that it was it. With a wave of his hand, he collected the meteorite crystal into space and pulled Tianjiao back. No one knows how meteorites appear, but they can be found everywhere on Earth as meteorites land, and it's definitely not brought by meteorites. Later, the most widely circulated speculation was that the surface area would expand, the Earth would expand, and meteorites from deep underground would be brought to the surface. Another is that there are rocks on Earth that have the same frequency as meteorites, which are affected by the meteorite's magnetic field and undergo mutations, absorbing a large amount of energy before becoming meteorite crystals.